Okay, hello everybody. Today's date is 2/18/2022 and my name is Leslie Williams. This is an exposure video. An exposure video dedicated to gang stalking criminal expeditions. And this video, hold on one second, I'm looking for a piece of paper which I just got out. Alright, now this video can be considered an addendum video to the video series videos that are titled, let me open it up to the piece of paper here, that are titled Gang Stalking Anchoring Sensitization Method. Now there's 5 current videos dedicated to that video series. None of them have been uploaded yet, and the reason why I'm telling you about them is, just listen to me. When I upload these videos, a lot of times when I'm out and about in the community, I'm extremely pressed for time. So when I upload videos, I don't necessarily have time in real time to title them, and I'll be getting to that eventually. So what I did in this 5-part video series, and in many of my other videos, some already uploaded, some haven't been, is I'll mention the video title at the beginning of the video. So if I make a video series that's got the same title, what I'll do is I'll say this is video 2 of this video series. The video series is titled, alright, hang on, I just put that piece of paper back away. And, alright, bear with me one more second, I apologize for the confusion. And so what I'll do is I'll say this is video 1 of a video series, and so this video series will have the same exact identical title, and I'll verbalize the title at the beginning of the video. That way, when you go into my YouTube video channel, and you want to be able to maybe watch video 2 through 5, you won't have to watch the entire video and say, okay, was this a video dedicated to that particular series? You'll know it is by hearing me verbally state the title. So this video right here can be considered to be an addendum. Not one of the video series that has the video series title, Gang Stalking Anchoring Sensitization Method, but it's a video that can be incorporated within your understanding concerning what's presented within that particular video series. This particular video is going to be titled, in fact, it might even turn into be a 2 or 3-part video series. So I'm going to state the title for this particular video series right now: Gang Stalking, Neural Influencing, Remote Neural Monitoring. So let's dive right into the purpose of this video. And I apologize it took a second for me to get this video off the ground related to its subject matter. But I needed to state those statements that I made because I make pretty good videos, my fellow American citizens. In fact, a lot of my videos are extremely informative. And I want you to stay with my videos in order to inform you. And one of the ways that people will stay with your videos is if they have some sort of sense of direction when it comes to me telling you the best way to find this information out is by and through doing this. Me telling you, giving you real in-depth information pertaining to specific descriptions and exposures. I go out of my way big time to make these videos. Because one of my main goals is to help people understand about the crime of gang stalking, because it is so massive. It's a literal epidemic in America. It's an epidemic, yet not one case is being investigated, not one perpetrator being arrested. Why? Because the fucking government is making billions of dollars off this crime yearly, using some of the most sophisticated, in fact, it is the most sophisticated technology that has ever been created, known to man. Okay, none of it is even known to the general public at all, okay, pertaining to the technology used in gang stalking programs. And gang stalking is responsible for the most extreme human rights abuses that has ever been perpetrated against the human family in the entire history of the human race. That is no joke. It is no exaggeration, so you better stay with this account. So remember what I said when it comes to my video series videos. I got the same problem occurring whenever I make any video series video, meaning that when I upload a video dedicated to a video series, or the entire video series is uploaded within a very short time frame of each other, I will verbally state that video series title at the beginning of the videos. So that way you know that this is one of the videos dedicated to it, because this crime keeps me so freaking busy, I usually don't have time to title my videos after I upload them. Okay? And that will occur, over time, because I'm trying to reorganize my life because this crime made me homeless, so there's a lot of circumstances in my life that compete for my attention daily, and there's a lot of effects from those circumstances, and this crime intentionally does things daily in order to keep me in in order to continue to monopolize on each and everything that they will put into my life on a daily basis. No joke. No joke at all. So check this out. I apologize for all this information, but it had to be said. So here's the subject matter. Now listen closely to my statements. Okay? Now, in organized stalking, gang stalking, criminal expeditions, gang stalking goes by a few different names, but it's the same exact identical crime. It just goes by about 2 or 3 names. Gang stalking, organized stalking, COINTELPRO gang stalking. It's not stalking by gangs that you might first think of. Go to YouTube and type in gang stalking bullying on steroids and stalked in San Antonio, and you'll even hear news reporters literally say the same thing, that it's not stalking by the gangs that you first think of. So anyways, what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to expose to you some information. That's what this video series is about. It's going to be at least 2 videos, probably 3 or 4 actually. But this video is going to be steered around talking to you more about some of the most depraved aspects of this crime related to brain entrainment, remote neural monitoring, voice to skull with voice morphing, neural influencing, including through voice to skull and voice to skull with voice morphing, including through remote neural monitoring, brain stimulation. So I'm just going to go ahead now, and I'm going to segue into the subject matter. Everything I said in this video so far needed to be said, so just, apologize for the time it took. So anyways, now, let me just do one more fast thing. Let me just light a cigarette here real fast, because my schedule is so congested that when I make a video, I also make it when I'm taking a break. So when I'm taking a break, sometimes I'll light a cigarette, so just bear with me. This is how bad this crime is. They keep me so busy every day concerning the effects that it is intentionally imposed upon my life. I'm constantly having to fucking move to escape certain technologies that are perpetrated against the neurological and biological systems, exposed online by tens of thousands of other victims as well. So, and plus that aspect of this crime has also been widely reported on national radio shows, including ones I've been on. Okay, electromagnetic weapons, directed energy weapons, ultrasonic sound, bone conduction, torture. Google all my statements, sweethearts. So check this out. I'm going to segue now into descriptions that are going to give you a foundation related to the subject matter. So I'm just going to dive right into it right now. So the first thing in the foundation, my foundational statements, is going to be to give you some metaphorical examples about post-traumatic stress. All this matters. Okay, so just be patient. Now, gang stalking crimes intentionally drive the victim's brain into induced responses, induced thought patterns, induced emotions, induced brain states. Okay, and that includes creating traumatic brain injury, dissociated states, associative identity disorders. They will absolutely attempt to create delusional disorders in victims, paranoid schizophrenic, mind pattern programming. Just research artificial schizophrenic and gang stalking. Absolutely. These people are literally demonic, beyond description, who host these crimes. They're depraved, sadistic freaks. So, now the foundation is I'm going to give you some statements in order to help you see how easy it is for any human being to come down with post-traumatic stress. So it needs to be said, so check this out. Now, so here's a couple examples. Say if you got, let me just take a puff off this cigarette and I'll put it out real fast. So what I decided to do pertaining to these particular examples, is because I've made other videos that have given other examples about how sensitization is formed in gang stalking. And the sensitization method of gang stalking, dark neurolinguistic programming, anchoring, the direct conversation method, all play a role in creating different types of post-traumatic stress in all victims. Okay? And post-traumatic stress can be created in any human being walking on this planet because it is a effect upon the brain created through trauma, victimization, and it monopolizes on our innate brain functions that are in our brain, okay, in all human beings. Gang stalking is hugely based upon psychological operations developed through the United States military, intelligence agencies, police, and research groups. It's one of the biggest parts of gang stalking crimes is psychological operations. In fact, the whole entire crime is built on the psychological operations, because to create the brain entrainment they need from the victim and to do the brain mapping, they gotta force the brain into induced brain states, emotions, thinking patterns, and physical brain states like disassociation, traumatic brain injury, concussive states, and much more. So just hear me out. So here's the examples. I'm going to give you 2 examples when it comes to how a veteran, and you're going to understand this because I'm going to explain it in very great ways, using very great descriptions, and you're going to be able to see it a lot better if I give it to you concerning how a veteran can come down with post-traumatic stress. In other words, you're going to walk away with a complete understanding. So let's say you got a Vietnam veteran. Okay, I use them as examples a lot. Because Vietnam vets, I have a very soft heart, concerning Vietnam veterans, because they were shit on when they came back from the war, even though they went through extreme hell. Okay, and they're still abused to this day. Oh, absolutely, marginally at least. So here's the example. Now, I'm aware you can't see me right now because I got such a get out of my way because I'm cooking while I'm talking to you. So let me give you an example about how easy it is for the mind and body to be entrained to specific stimulus. Stimulus being something that is noticed in your environment. Okay? Like it will stimulate a response. Stimulus is an abbreviation for the word stimulate. Stimulate an emotion, to stimulate an emotion out of you. Okay, why do you, and I'm only giving this example, this fast statement here, to try and present something to you really fast so you can understand. It's by I'm not saying it for any other reason. If you walk up to a black person and call them the N-word, a complete stranger, whether it be a white person doing it, or another black person, or a Mexican, or an Asian, walking up to a black person, and acting really intense and hostile and calling them the N-word, well, that's going to immediately excite some pre-programmed emotions out of that black person, justifiably. Okay? Well, gang stalking knows all that. So when I say gang stalking will monopolize on general psychological attributes, that's one fast example of it. Absolutely. Because it knows it's going to produce a thinking response and an emotional response instantly from that black person. Okay? Justifiably. Right? They know it. Now that is a form of psychological driving where they're steering the victim to think a certain way and have certain emotions by driving that thinking out of them and driving the emotions from them by and through abuse. Except gang stalking is a lot more involved. Okay? But it's very, very specific, exacting. They use specific techniques that they know are going to guarantee them the motives and results. And they use very exacting techniques that they know. Because you got to remember, it's all built on psychological operations. So using a veteran as an example. Say if you got a Vietnam vet that was in the infantry. And most people who are educated know that when you got a soldier in a war who's in the infantry, especially in the Army and the Marines, there's an extreme likelihood that you're going to be deployed into physical neighborhoods and into environments where the war on the ground is happening. It's not like the Air Force where you're in a plane, or the Navy while you're on a ship. An infantry person is going to be on the ground, and they're going to be involved in street war theaters where they're combating hostile environments. And so when you look at what the Vietnam vets went through, the Vietnam vets went through, and particularly, and so did the Koreans in the Korean War, they went through, and even aspects of World War II, because some of those theaters were played out in jungles as well. But going back to the Vietnam vet, the most of the war that the infantrymen in the Vietnam War played out in the jungle. So say if you're a Vietnam vet, and you spent 5 years in the infantry, or 4 years, or even 3, okay, or even 2, literally. But you can only spend 6 months in a jungle and go through what a regular Vietnam veteran infantryman went through, and you'll still get PTSD. You can get PTSD by being dropped up in the jungle for 3 nights. Why do you think when people go camping and they run into a grizzly bear, have nightmares right after that? So anyways, so say if you got an infantryman who was in the Vietnam War, and he spent, we'll just say, 3 years in the jungle. So let's say out of each one of those 3 years, he spent 200 days in the jungle. Even though it does not take anywhere near that for severe post-traumatic stress to be created as a result of you being in a hostile environment in the jungle. The reason why I use the jungle, scenario is because in a jungle, a lot of times, you're not going to be able to see 2 feet in front of you. And you'll understand that in a sec. So, when you're in a jungle and you're in a war theater, where for 200 days out of 365, and let's say at least 100 of those days you were in intense battles in an environment where the enemy purposely hid himself, set booby traps of many different kinds and forms, where he was seeing his buddy's arms and legs and bodies being torn in half, where the sound of a tree branch breaking occurred 30 seconds before he saw his fellow soldier and his friend get blown in half. Now, if you see this thing every day for 200 days, whether they be consecutive days or maybe they had a week break, during the month of each one of these 100 days, it wouldn't matter. Because the Vietnam veteran was put in a jungle. And when you're in a jungle dealing with guerrilla warfare like they were, not knowing that if you go down this trail, you could step into a trap and your leg will get blown off. Seeing these things 75 times out of 200 events, seeing your buddies get their heads blown off with guns. Now, when you're in a jungle, what is unique about a jungle outside of the fact that the enemy can remain camouflaged by using the landscape itself and building tunnels and knowing the jungle better than the soldiers did? Therefore, they knew where to hide at and how to and what would be the best places to flank the soldier and the platoon. Well, so, when you're in a jungle and when you're in a forest and your enemy is hiding and your enemy is well known to hide and to jump out and to sabotage you and to do all these different things that are already mentioned, your body is going to absorb it all. It's going to start anticipating where is the next attack occurring going to come from. Every time, say if they just went through a big skirmish in the morning, right? Yet they went through 75 similar skirmishes out of a 130-day tour. And and at least half of those skirmishes had within them sounds of the jungle that were incorporated within the skirmishes. So let me give you an example. And I know it might seem like it's taken me a while for me to get into the subject matter, but trust me, all this needs to be said. Okay, because this is the foundation. So say if you're in a jungle and you hear a branch break, and then 30 seconds later you see your friend sitting 5 feet away from you openly get his head blown off right in front of you. Right in front of you. Right after you heard that branch break. Say if you're in a forest, okay, and you hear a branch break and 2 minutes later you see a big gigantic grizzly bear and he starts chasing you. The brain is going to remember every single thing that you went through. Everything that you went through during that entire event. The branch breaking is going to remember the sound. The brain and body is going to release adrenaline, cortisone. It's going to enact what is called the hypervigilance response. And it's going to activate the limbic system to be extremely active. And the amygdala, which is another function of the brain. Okay? So this is... Gang stalking criminal expeditions know all this. They know all about the brain's autonomy, the brain's reactions to fear and danger. Gang stalking knows all of this. The government has been studying shell shock and PTSD ever since World War I. Okay? They got millions of documents about it. Okay? They've conferenced with thousands of psychiatrists and psychologists. They got their own departments that deal with it. Okay? They know exactly what the body and brain go through and why the body and brain go through it as a direct result of war, trauma, the human brain and body being put in environments that are extremely threatening. They know that when you walk into a jungle after you've been deployed for 100 days, they already know that when you hear a tree branch break, they already know your brain and body is going to instantly go into fight or flight mode, and it's going to go in extreme hyper alertness, hyper vigilance. It's going to stimulate memories of prior skirmishes where you saw people get their head blown off. It's going to stimulate memories of when you were feeling so fearful because you seen 30 people in front of you while you were only with 2 people and they were coming towards you. These are called visual memories. Now, what type of fear do you think you would experience if you seen 30 soldiers with AK-47s running towards you and you are only 3? They're 30 coming towards you. You're surrounded, and you just went through 100 days of seeing nothing but blood and guts, and extreme death, and people being on fire, and people getting cut in half, and their heads blown off, and the whole 9 yards. Well, what do you think your brain and body is going to go into? It's going to go into fight or flight. Okay? It's going to go into immediate reactionary responses, neurologically and biologically. It's going to excite those memories. What do you think boot camp training is all about? Where they want to get your thinking out of the way to get you trained so you react in certain ways in certain theaters, which are the skirmishes in the environments, right? So, now why in part did I say all this? Well, gang stalking will stage events and traumas for you to endure. Staged rape, staged robbery, staged assault, to make you non-stop hyper-vigilant about what you're going to endure today, tomorrow, the next day, when you go anywhere. That's the gang of gang stalking, where they will use different people against you every day. And trust me when I say there's a lot more involved in this. Remember, that's why this is a video series. So, now, you definitely want to watch video number 2 and 3, and there might even be a video number 4 and 5. So always make sure you look out for the verbalization of the video title at the beginning of the video. So now gang stalking knows that when it stages assaults against you, when they say a threat, like say if they make you homeless, and they have people go by your area and say, why don't you call the cops on her? Okay, and then the cops come and you might get arrested. Well, they already know your brain is going to remember that related to what you heard, right? Right? Say if you're a gang stalking victim, you hear people outside your fucking door saying, why don't you call the cops and get her out of here? Or she's going to have to move. While they're repeating, oh my God, and then all of a sudden your rent starts disappearing and you got to move. And then when you move, they creatively, through dark neurologistic programming techniques, let you know that it was them that stole it. Alright? While you're totally powerless over all this happening to you. Then now that you're homeless, they'll start tracking you to wooded areas and start propping up people to say, why don't you call the cops and get her out of here? Or propping up other props that are suggestive that you're being noticed and that the cops might come. Because these are all stimuli just like the tree branch breaking. Do you understand now? When the brain perceives a threat, it's going to notice it. It's going to pay attention to all the attributes connected to it, and it becomes a memory reference. Research from remote neural monitoring and memory mapping and memory stimulation. And your body and brain stores all these memory references concerning the stress and duress that the body goes through when the fear is excited. That's related to the memory reference. Like if you were in 75 battles in the jungle and then you get a month break, then you get set right back into the jungle, and the first time you hear that tree branch break, your body is going to immediately, instantly go right back into that hypervigilant state. Gang stalking knows all this. So when they prop up a threat and then carry out the threat, and then prop up another threat and carry out that threat, and then between those two events, they'll prop up identical verbal threats, not do nothing, and then they'll eventually act on it after they say another identical threat, and then act on it. Your brain is noticing the repetition, because what they're doing is they're reinforcing the fear. They're reinforcing the sense of mental control over your physical existence in your life, especially if you're on any type of assistance, because if you get arrested for illegal lodging, trespass, or encroachment and go to jail for more than 29 days, you lose Social Security and social services. Well, they'll intentionally let you know that too. They'll intentionally let you know that they'll set you up for a staged assault in jail through gang stalking, blame you for it, charge you with the felony, so when you get out, you can't get your Social Security back. Because gang stalking wants to impose upon you all this knowledge so that you process it mentally, so you become hyper vigilant concerning it, because they already know by this time that you know they're capable of doing these types of things, and they're capable of repeating them. Which is why you see so much identical repetition in gang stalking. And now that's related to the anchoring technique of gang stalking, the sensitization technique of gang stalking, the direct conversation method of gang stalking, and dark neural linguistic programming. They say the threat, they repeat the threat, then they act on the threat, then they'll put you back in the environment, then they'll repeat the threat again, and then they'll repeat it again, then they'll repeat it again, they'll repeat it again. They might mix in a couple other types of episodes towards you, like staged assaults, robberies, property theft. Then they'll go back to the original threat, and then say that for a month, and then they'll carry the threat out. Because what they're doing is programming you, and they're putting you into a created construct, where they're forcing this upon your mind, body, and life, because they're now controlling your fucking circumstance. Why do you think they're creating the homelessness of gang stalking victims? Do you think they're doing it to just say, aha, we did it, now we're walking away? Okay? So when they create these anchors and associations in your mind to the crime, they got to do it through some type of identical repetition, so that way when they use different people, it won't matter, because you'll know when they say something, do something, or wear a specific color coding, they know your brain is going to recognize that to be connected to gang stalking, because gang stalking forced you to recognize that specific thing. That's the sensitization method in anchoring. So imagine you being in 100 different types of heavy street battles in Vietnam in the jungle. And then you got all these different types of stimuli that are associated to death and injury. The brain, because think about it, if you're in a jungle, what do you think the natural sounds are in a jungle? Even when a fucking animal moves, you're going to hear bushes moving, you're going to hear tree branches breaking, you're going to hear birds suddenly flying in the air, which you would usually signal that maybe something is startling the birds. Well, when these veterans were in that jungle, when they experienced those types of sounds and environment, things that they noticed in the environment, they noticed those things right before, during, or after an extreme gun battle, where they seen people getting blown in half, where they seen people where they seen people's arms and legs and heads being blown off, and while they themselves were right in the middle of it, meaning that it could happen to them at any second. So as this is all going on, certain environmental sounds are going on. Tree bushes breaking, okay? Bushes moving, birds flying away suddenly and instantly. That's called the startle response. Gang stalking knows all of this. And it knows your body will store all of it. The memory references connected to the sound stimuli, the memory references of everything that he's seeing concerning his fellow soldiers getting blown up, and all the different things that this enemy is capable of doing concerning the booby traps and everything else. I mean, those soldiers couldn't even walk down the trail without worrying about falling into a booby trap and losing their legs. Okay? So when you see certain things happen over and over and over again, what the brain will do is it will store specific identifiers. The sound stimuli of the trees, the bushes moving, and what's happened right after that. The branches breaking, what's happened right after that. All of a sudden birds take off, what's happened right after that. Right? And so, massive skirmishes that produced all these types of violent episodes. So the brain, it associates these type of stimuli to the event, and then when you're going through the event, the body becomes hypervigilant. It becomes extremely stressed out. It creates cortisone, a massive cortisone release and adrenaline release. That's because the brain and body, remember, okay, that's because the brain and body went through these types of responses related to the event, and the event was related to the stimuli. That's what gang stalking does. So imagine, we're going to see if I think this particular memory card, this particular type of memory card in this phone, will start segueing into a second video once I approach the 33-minute 9-second mark. So when it does that, I'm going to say video 2, And I believe I titled this video Remote Neural Monitoring, Neural Influencing, and Stimulation. Okay? And so, you know, what needs to be understood about gang stalking is that gang stalking crimes, they need you to be visually and auditorily trained to stimuli. And the stimuli are part of the staged events. Now, the verbal, some of the sound stimuli can just be threats. The visual stimuli can be people who are being used to carry out any aspect of the threat and the effects created from the threat, from the staged event that's playing out the threat. Okay? So, if you have a person standing around you wearing black and white endlessly while they're saying gang stalk, oh my god, a crime that sets you up for a brutal rape, well then your brain is remembering the rape and all the victimizations, and they come flashing in your mind while you're hearing the word gang stalk, right? So therefore, every time you hear the word gang stalk, it now being a stimuli, the brain will go into the disassociated state that it went into when you were being raped. Because it knows, the brain remembers that you were raped through gang stalking. So do you see what I'm saying? This is how bad gang stalking is. These cocksuckers, oh, I'm sorry, please excuse my language, because I honestly rarely use that word, literally. These demonic, depraved, sadistic, freaked out animals will do anything and everything to create disassociated states in a victim, traumatic brain injury, okay, extreme victimizations and abuse. Hold on one second. So, now I'm approaching the 32-minute mark here in a second. So, I don't really want to dive into the second explanation. And all this folds together so you can see the end result, which is then the subject matter. Okay? Because if I start diving into that and then it starts the new video, well, I don't really like ending my videos that way. Okay, so let me just put it to you this way. When you extensively, because when the 33-minute video, when the next video starts, I'll pick up from where I left off at, related to how the brain, you know, how trauma created from life-threatening scenarios and events and situations are played upon, are created and then played upon in gang stalking crimes. Okay? And trust me when I say, when you hear what I got to say in video number 2 or 3, I literally guarantee you, literally, I guarantee you, you will absolutely be glad you decided to look for video 2 and 3. Make no mistake about it. Your jaw will drop and you will never see this planet again in the same way. That's no exaggeration. Excuse me. That is literally no exaggeration, because I'm literally going to play some audio that describes some of the features and functions of remote neural monitoring by doctors and by other individuals who have done more research than me. And trust me when I say, I got massive educated knowledge concerning the technology that's used in this crime. When you see video number 2 and 3, your jaw is going to drop. You're going to say, oh my god, I can't believe this is going on. Literally. So I'm approaching the 33-minute, 9-second mark now. At the beginning of video 2, I'll say the title and then segue into the continuation of my statements. Alright, so for some reason I did not get the message that I usually get on my home screen when it approaches the 33-minute, 9-second mark, which is kind of bizarre, because I just made a couple videos with the same microcard a couple days ago, and when I reached the 33-minute, 9-second mark, it started a new video. So I don't know why I didn't do that, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that a second video started, but if it didn't, then you will just know by watching the same video, if it went over 33 minutes and 9 seconds, that this is video number 2. This series video will be titled Remote Neural Monitoring, Heterodyning, and Remote Neural Monitoring, Neural Influencing, and Heterodyning. Each video will eventually have a identical typed title, except video 2 and 3 will have a number at the end of it, so you'll be able to see what video you're in. I'm verbalizing the titles at the beginning because I'm not able to title my videos by text right away once they're uploaded, because the crime of gang stalking is keeping me so busy. So I'm going to pick up where I left off at in my description of the foundation of the subject matter from video 1. You gotta watch video 1, because it gives some really good, it gives some pretty good detailed explanations. Enough was said for you to see how that part of the foundation that was laid out in video 1 segues into this video, and then how my current and ongoing statements will flow out into the relevance, the meat and potatoes of the subject matter. Okay? So, now, I openly described in video 1, through examples, through verbal statements and examples, about how easy it is for post-traumatic stress to be created in any human being. Okay? If you, I'll just give a real fast example just in case you don't have time to go back and watch video number 1 right away, and this one's going to be extremely fast. I gave a real in-depth statement in video 1. Okay, so you definitely want to watch it. So, say if you got a Vietnam vet going down the street, let's just say on the 4th of July, or the 3rd of July, or the 4th of July, and all of us, or it doesn't even have to be 4th of July. Let's just say you have him going down the street, and he's sitting at a bus stop, or he might be coming out of a store, and he hears a car backfire, right? And so this Vietnam vet, who was an infantryman in the Vietnam War, he's coming out of a store, and he hears a car backfire, and then all of a sudden he has a visual memory stimulation of gunfire, of a visual memory of a battle that occurred while he was in Vietnam, because when you're in when you're in war, a lot of gunfire is going on. Okay, so gunfire is almost identical to the backfiring of a truck. Okay, so the truck backfiring, you can refer to that as a stimulus. And the abbreviation for the word stimulus can be viewed as stimuli. Okay? So stimuli is just an abbreviation of the word stimulus. And stimulus means something that will stimulate something in you that causes you to remember something, whether it be good or bad. If you have a wedding song on your wedding day, and 20 years later you get in your car and you turn on the radio and you hear that wedding song, your brain is going to immediately stimulate some vague visual memories of your wedding day, because that is related to a milestone and a big event in your life and a memorable event in your life that's got a lot of visual imagery connected to it. Well, the same thing if you were a victim of a crime, if you were brutally robbed, brutally raped, if you were brutally assaulted for whatever reason. Many things that your mind, that your eyes seen, that your ears heard during that event are going to be remembered. And so if you were, let's say, brutally attacked in a park, and while you were being brutally attacked, maybe somebody beeped their car horn several times. Okay, maybe one of the assailants, maybe the assailant was with a few of his friends, and when you were being attacked, maybe his friends were honking the horn saying, "Come on, we got to get out of here." Well, you know, when you were being attacked, you heard that car horn. So in the future, when you go down the street, you hear a car horn, your brain is going to remember that brutal attack, because that's the way the brain processes information pertaining to trauma. It's what post-traumatic stress is all about. Now, I gave some very, very good detailed statements about how post-traumatic stress can be created in a person that has been in a life-threatening situation, including if one has been in a life-threatening situations on multiple dates, like veterans. You know, if you've been in war theaters where you're on the ground and you're in literal war theaters physically. Hold on a second. So, we're going to take the information that I've given you in video 1 and what I've given you so far in this video 2, and we're going to set it aside just for a minute, because I want to give you another example about something. It's a related topic to the overall subject matter, and so it needs to be stated, but it's going to seem somewhat different initially from what I've already exposed in video 1 and what I've already exposed so far in here in video 2. So let me go ahead and segue into it so I can get as much information as humanly possible out in this particular video series. Yeah. So, now this sidebar issue, it's intimately connected to the overall subject matter. Intimately. It's very important. But it's definitely going to initially seem different to you, so just stay with me. Now, what I'm going to do right now is give you some examples about events that can cause somebody to be instantly angry. And you'll understand why. So, say if you got a man working on his car, and he's got his head down inside the hood of his car working on the engine, and he takes a wrench, and he's trying to get a bolt loose, and all of a sudden the wrench slips, and he's got all this applied force on the wrench because he's trying to get the nut, the bolt loose. And while he's got all that massive applied force on the wrench, as he's trying to unscrew the bolt, the wrench slips off the bolt, All that applied force causes his hand to go deep down into the engine, and he massively hits his knuckle on the engine block, and it hurts like hell. Now, instantly, just like when you stub your toe in a real bad way, instantly you're going to go into immediate pain and immediate anger at the same time. We all have seen our men go through this, unfortunately, but it's true. We've all went through extreme pain, especially if you got like corns on your feet or whatever, and you stubbed your toe really bad. Instant pain and instant anger at the same time. Okay? Now, so say if you're a guy and he applied 250 pounds of applied force on a wrench, and then all of a sudden that wrench slipped off the nut and he brutalized his hand, he's going to go into massive instant pain and massive instant anger. That's why you see men swearing when they're working on their cars. Okay? My dad did it. My ex-husband's done it. And so on and so forth. Okay? Now, why did I bring that up? Well, let me give you one more fast statement, and then we're going to compare that statement to what I just stated. So, let's say if you got a 150-pound man coming out of a grocery store, and somebody bumps into him that's wearing black and white and says, "Oh my God, I didn't mean to do that." All right? And then the guy that gets bumped into starts swearing and acting hostile and starts going off on this guy, while the innocent other bystanders are saying, "Wow, this guy's really acting out just because somebody bumped into him that's even apologizing for doing so." So you might think to yourself, why the hell would I say that in relation to what I talked about a minute ago? Well, check this out. What I'm going to do right now is play you an audio file. It's not even an audio file, it's actually the audio from a video. And when you hear this, your mind is going to be blown, and then I'm going to make some statements about it, and its relevant importance to why it's so important concerning gang stalking crimes. So when you hear this, your mind is literally going to be blown. Okay? So let me bring it up. It's only 2 minutes long.
Remote neural monitoring is one of the terms we use for it.
All right, now before I bring it up,
psychotronic weaponry.
I'm going to find my Bluetooth speaker real fast, which is right here. Okay, I'm going to turn it on so you can literally hear it right up. Take 2 seconds, bear with me. Now, when you hear this, and then I continue to talk, I guarantee you're going to say, "Oh my God, this is like so unbelievable," but it is absolutely, completely true. And you're gonna just say, "I can't believe something like this is going on." Now, gang stalking, unfortunately, it appears that the Bluetooth speaker won't come on unless I go into settings on this particular moment, which is kind of bizarre. So let me see if I can just take 2 seconds here. I'm going into settings right now. Just take 2 secs. Should only take 2 seconds. Alright, so it just beeped on. So I'll make some statements about why this was brought up as soon as you hear the audio of this video, which I'm going to start playing right now through my Bluetooth speaker. And you need to listen to every single thing this person says. Write down descriptions, research what's stated. Listen.
Remote neural monitoring is one of the terms we use for it. The other term is psychotronic weaponry. Weaponry that has been designed to interact with the human nervous system in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions, for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say, me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction. Robert Duncan worked on some of the projects. I mean, he claims it's a very complex, mathematical situation.
The whole kingdom's Snow White.